The Pacers lose a nail-biter 114-110 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. This was one they probably could have won. Wouldn't say they should have won it, but they were right there. They had a chance. We're going to talk about it today. On Setting the Pace, we got some good news. Quentin Jackson, he comes back from injury, but unfortunately, Obi Toppin exits in the third quarter with a leg injury. So we're going to talk about that as well. A lot to get to today on Setting the Pace. Let's get to it.
This is Tyrese Halliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
Halliburton driving, pulls up, jump shot. It's good! It's good! Neesmith again, three, got it! He's a flamethrower!
Siakam, a three. Siakam hits the three! Pacers have the lead!
Nembhard looked at a three. He's going to take a long three. Bang!
The pep in the step is back.
Mathurin fires away, pots ahead! Mathurin madness!
This is how legacies are built.
Nembhard's got to put it up. Step back, his three-pointer. Nembhard knocks the three down!
Andrew Nembhard was so good.
Toppin, corner three, and rattles in! Pacers down three. Halliburton's got the ball. Halliburton rises. You have got to be kidding me. Yeah! That's how we feel.
What is up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast here on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. We are Setting the Pace. I'm your host, Alex Golden, and Michael J. Facci is still off as he is on his other vacation. And joining me now is Kyle Taylor from the Pacers Recap, a new post-game, once-a-week live show with our friend Derek Kramer from My Pacers. So, Kyle, how's it going?
It's going better for me than it's going for the 0-3 Indiana Pacers. I have loved the effort the team has given in games 1 and 3, but unfortunately, the injuries are just getting too much to deal with.
Yeah, you think you get some good news. It says probable on the injury report around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Quentin Jackson, a guard, a healthy guard, is coming back to the Pacers roster. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I've been more excited on a Sunday afternoon before a Colts game than that, to see a healthy guard come to the roster. And then, of course, because this is how the basketball gods work, and this is the new rules of the Indiana Pacers, if you get an injured player back, you have to give one up. And so they took away Obi Toppin in the third quarter. He does not return, and now the Pacers are going to be a little bit thinner in their front court. But if they were going to lose somebody, I guess losing somebody in the front court is the place you want to lose somebody, but probably not Obi Toppin, because he's been your best five the first 3 games of the season and is just a staple for this team. We don't know the severity of that injury. He came up limping on a contest and walked off the court after the play ended and they went to a timeout. So we get Quentin Jackson back. We lose Obi Toppin. What are your thoughts on that?
The basketball gods seem to demand balance. We get an incredible team of destiny-like run in May and June, ending in complete catastrophe in the most severe form it could possibly take. And now the gods are demanding retribution enacted upon us in every single game, a starting player at every position that seems to matter. Hopefully the balance, the spirits of the basketball world have reestablished what they feel is balance, and the Pacers' effort and play can start winning them games instead of just having the gods take everything away. But I mean, mostly, Alex, this is just, we're beyond, there are too many injuries to deal with. We're to the point where it's hard to even know how to assess the development people are showing on the court, because you see certain things in certain moments. You can point to that one really nice Jarris Walker possession, and maybe he gets a little bit more run if Obi is out for a game or two. But man, I mean, mostly you just kind of have to you watch the team and you appreciate Ben Shepherd giving absolutely everything. You appreciate Pascal Siakam giving absolutely everything, but I don't really know how much else to take away beyond that. But it is, again, we're 3 games in, so there's no real fatigue here at this point. At the same time, it is still, I love seeing the team, even though they're down so many players, just give absolutely everything they have. that is the standard that Aaron Nesmith talked about during media day. And even if they can't play the same way, the players are different. They can try and play with pace, but it just won't be the same efficiency or effectiveness at that pace. Okay, fine. The team is still willing to give it their all. And that's awesome, even when, to be honest, giving it your all is just not enough because the competition is too severe.
I'm curious what you kind of had expectation-wise for this team heading into the season, because I felt like this could be a team that won 40-plus games when healthy. And maybe I was a little bit optimistic just coming off the finals run, but I can make the case that they'd be 2-1 right now, potentially 3-0 if they were fully healthy with T.J. McConnell, Andrew Nembhard, obviously the start Ben Mathurin got off to, because they were right there in overtime against OKC. And in this game against Minnesota, look, Anthony Edwards went down in the first quarter with a hamstring injury, did not return. So it kind of felt like there was, like you mentioned, the basketball gods trying to find that balance for a good game here. But, it was just one of those things where the Pacers had to take advantage of that. But outside of Pascal Siakam, really the scoring was just a struggle for your Pacers. I mean, Aaron Nesmith, 18 points. You're like, okay, that's pretty good, but it took him 17 shots to get there. Tony Bradley had 12. He's your third leading scorer, and Ray J. Dennis with 12. Like, okay, this is where the Pacers are at. And so I know that everyone was already talking about tanking and let's go ahead and get Cam Boozer and go for that. But I'm just looking at this team right now. It's not even the end of October yet. And this team, hopefully by the end of November, could be healthy. And I think this opportunity here with guys getting more of a chance to play will only help their development, even though it's hard to assess what that development actually is. I just think reps is going to be huge, but you're just missing so many guys here right now. It's really, really difficult, but I don't know. What was your expectation for this team coming into the season, and do you kind of feel or agree with the sentiments I have?
I was a little bit lower on the team. Probably my win total projection was like 35 to 40. Okay. As opposed to 40 plus. So I was a little bit lower. I thought the Vegas preseason win total line around 36, 37. I was pretty close to that personally. And part of that was that when you looked at the roster, Andrew Nembhard has never played 80 games in a season. And if he goes down or if Siakam goes down, I mean, those two guys more than any other, it's kind of over for that section of the season in which they're out. So look, I would say a couple additional things beyond that. So I'm a little bit lower than you, not that much lower. And on the other hand, the first 3 games of the season really could go either way. Like you can look at it from the optimist's point of view and say, those are the 2 Western Conference finalists, and the Pacers easily could have won both of those games without anybody in the closing lineups for both games that we would have expected to be playing in those moments. Crazy. It speaks to the tenacity and fight the team has. I'm actually more persuaded by the optimist's view. And on the and the other reason, this is not a case for optimism, it's a case for patience. Last year's team was 10-15 and went to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
It is that specific improvement was a historical aberration. They did something no team had done before. It's extremely impressive. At the same time, this is in my opinion, at least, this is the hardest stretch of the season. I thought coming into it, even optimist or pessimist, I thought a 3-7 start to the season would have been perfectly good and spoken well about the team's prospects. So yeah, 0-3 is not what I wanted. And at this, you just have to have a longer term point of view. I'm not going to have a conversation with the T word until the calendar is 2026. I'm just not even interested in it at all. And I, more than anything, even though I'm a little bit lower on the team, and that's me really, the truth is what I'm higher on is Tyrese Halliburton. I just think he's really, really good. And I think they really, really miss him. I am overall encouraged by games 1 and 3. I mean, listen, you're in a game where Ray J, in these 2 games, Ray J. Dennis and Talon Peter are on the floor in clutch time. Tony Bradley is playing 9 minutes in the fourth quarter of a game you want to win. This is not what any of us thought coming into the season. And in all of these cases, the Pacers are they're not just keeping it close with good teams. They're keeping it close with the 2 best teams in the better conference. You have to take away that the heart, the fight, the hustle, all the intangible things that aren't in the box score, that don't show up in the win-loss column. You have to take those away as a Pacers fan.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously the positive way to look at it. I mean, I'm getting text messages throughout the game saying, "Oh, Pascal shouldn't be playing more than 28 minutes," and I'm like, 36 minutes is not that many minutes. Like, let's calm down. It's early on. What are they going to do? They need Pascal to win the game, and it's like they're not thinking about losing games at this point. I mean, anybody that feels like the Pacers should be looking at losing games this early on, they're just not logical at all. These are pro athletes that are super competitive and they want to win. And these are great opportunities for guys like Ben Shepherd, like Jarris Walker, even guys like Ray J and Tony Bradley, like you mentioned before, to go out there and play. And so I want to just go back and start talking specifically about this game. I know you had some notes on some of these players, but first quarter, the Pacers were hanging in there and they looked pretty solid. 28-28, I was like, okay, the defense has been hit or miss, but compared to what we saw against Memphis, it was good to see some baskets go in. Had a nice lineup change. I don't know if nice is the right word, but we had a interesting lineup change there as the Pacers go big with Isaiah Jackson and Jay Huff at the 4 and the 5. Play Pascal kind of at the 3, but more so the point guard, and then Nesmith and Shepherd out there on the wing. So just a huge lineup against Minnesota, who's already pretty big themselves, as they have DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards as their two backcourt players, with McDaniels, Gobert, and Julius Randle, who I thought Julius Randle was just a problem for the Pacers all game long. But I just felt like early on they got things kind of figured out. They actually had a 2-point lead heading into the half. I thought, okay. Then, of course, we have a third quarter. The Pacers get outscored by 11, and they were up by 5 at one point in that quarter, and I think they got outscored 22-10 to finish it. So that was really rough from the Pacers with their scoring there. But overall, I just felt like this was a Pacers team that had a chance to win and had a chance to make a comeback here in the fourth quarter. But early on, that first quarter, second quarter, much, much better start offensively, even though things were rough turnover-wise and defensively.
Last year during the NBA playoffs, there was a lot of discourse about what people online at least are calling a strong link league versus a weak link league. Basically, in the past, the NBA has been dominated by team with best player wins game. And increasingly over the last 5 years, 6 years or so, you can think of this with the 2019 Raptors, for example, being one of the early examples of this. The NBA is shifting away from not just who has the best player on the floor, but whose worst players on the floor are better than the other team's worst players. This game is kind of a microcosm of that shift in some ways. And this Pacers team is sort of pushing the boundaries of it because as much as we've praised their depth, we're beyond depth. We are to the point where the weak link on the court at any given moment is really being exposed in a way that the Pacers' 9th and 10th men last year were not being exposed. And the Pacers' 9th and 10th men this year are frankly just not playing at the same level as those same players last year. Ben Shepherd is one of the top 5 guys when he was, again, more like 10 last year. And it's hard at times it can be hard to watch the offense when this is going on. When the Pacers start the game double big, Jaden McDaniels is not guarding Jay Huff. Jay Huff, a guy who came into the team this season, we all are hoping, okay, he's going to be a stretch big. He's going to, really make defenses think this is the style that fits the Pacers. And Jaden McDaniels is guarding him, basically saying, you're not going to put him in the post because Isaiah's the guy you want in the post. And we don't trust him to make a shot on the perimeter, which he really didn't. And so Jaden McDaniels is just not really guarding him. Rudy Gobert not guarding Isaiah Jackson on the perimeter. And I don't think that double big lineup really worked. I mean, Jay Huff had an awesome forward-facing slam sort of over Rudy Gobert, but
Quinn Buckner
that change for me wasn't the kind of change I wanted to see. I wanted to see Ray J, and of course, Ray J gets on the floor in the second quarter, and this is exactly what I'm talking about with the weak link thing and the lack of chemistry and connectivity between the players. There are just bad pass turnover after bad pass turnover when he takes the floor. To his great credit, those 3 second quarter turnovers or whatever it was, he cleans it up in the second half. Big props to him. I'm not trying to be too critical of his play here, but this is what happens when you get to this point in the depth chart. You are just going to see more mistakes from the lack of they just lack reps together. Yeah. And the turnovers were really bad and they led to just, clean fast breaks for Minnesota. To me, that's kind of the story of that early middle part of the game where yes, the Pacers were hanging in there, but frankly, I thought Minnesota's offense was letting the Pacers off the hook. And eventually Minnesota starts making a few more shots and life gets harder for the Pacers who have to fight back in the fourth quarter, which to their credit, they did excellently. I mean, it's so easy to second night of a back-to-back away. Like it would be so easy to let go of the rope, and they never did.
Yeah, I mean that's great. A great point too, because the effort there on the second night of a back-to-back was terrific. It was better than the game we saw against Memphis as well. Seemed to have a little bit of an edge to them at times. I felt like Pascal was really kind of driving that edge.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Him and Jalen Clark were getting into it. And was Jalen Clark the player that also took out DeLon Wright earlier in the preseason? I believe it was on that headbutt.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right.
And so Jalen Clark just loves to play physical, and him and Pascal were talking, and Pascal drew a foul on him, and he's chirping at the ref saying, he pushed off on me. And then the very next play, Siakam missed a pull-up on him. And you got to remember, Siakam is literally guarding the best player on the other end of the court and doing everything offensively. So, you're asking Pascal to do everything for you at this point, especially with how this depth chart looks. And then he ends up, scoring over him again. And basically Clark was talking, and he was like, dude, you shouldn't be talking to me. So I just thought that was a really good thing we saw from Pascal. Like, he was really getting into it and really just carrying this team on his back. I mean, poor guy, good grief. But you brought up Isaiah Jackson and Jay Huff, and their two-man lineup played 8 minutes and 11 seconds together, a -5 overall. Did not have a great net rating as a -37.2, 94.1 offensive rating, and a 131.3 defensive rating. So that just kind of shows you that lineup was not exactly what you wanted it to be. They had 17 offensive possessions together and 16 defensive possessions together. The pace was 96.8, and that was pretty low for the rest of the team. And yeah, just not a great two-man combination there from that group, and was a little bit befuddled by it when I saw it on the pregame stuff. I was like, okay, couldn't go big with Obi instead, but okay. Even Jarris couldn't get a crack in the starting lineup. We're giving it to Jay Huff. All right, that's fine. Fine by me, whatever. So
no, I share your skepticism. I share it completely.
Or start Ray J, start a point guard. I mean, you look at what happened in Memphis, and the team got off to such a slow start, and then you put Ray J in, and it's like, oh, things kind of picked up. We have a point guard out here to kind of run things, and so I don't know what's going on, but I did think it was interesting today. We found out that Campaign was not actually going to go play overseas quite yet. Is going to stay in the States just in case somebody needs a call. So not saying Campaign's the answer for the Pacers, but where they were looking before the Quentin Jackson news, it looked like anybody at this point that could bring the ball up the court and set the offense up would be a breath of fresh air, because the Pacers are really struggling to do that. And I don't like seeing them make Pascal do literally everything on both ends of the floor. I get giving him responsibility offensively to do a lot of stuff, but when you're going up against Julius Randle, a guy that I felt was a Pacer killer in this game, I mean, he just got to the spots he wanted to anytime he wanted to. Played bully ball. He was a force. I'm not going to lie to you. I think Julius Randle's a little bit underrated. I know a lot of people don't care for him, but 11 of 18 from the field for 31 points. He was dominant, in my opinion, 10 of 14 inside the arc. So just maybe you find ways to guard him without using Siakam. Maybe you send double teams over just to force somebody else to do something, but I don't know.
He was so much to handle. I mean, he's getting to that left hand so well. There's a possession I remember where Jarrett, he's doing his thing right. He's got him backing him down, and Jarris is kind of hanging with him really well. He's not biting on Julius's almost pump fakes, and then Julius just kind of scoops around with the left hand to put it in. And it felt like that sort of thing was just happening where he was just manipulating his defenders very well. They could have probably sent more help. I mean, listen, unlike you, I'm not a Julius Randle guy. I frankly saw him get off to a hot start, and I was like, let him keep shooting. This guy is fundamentally not a lifelong high efficiency killer. He can have his moments, and he had one today, and probably they should have changed the coverages against him sooner. At the same time, I was kind of like, this Minnesota offense looked so bad. And yeah, he's making all these tough shots, but there's no ball movement on that end of the floor. They are playing also without a point guard in most situations, especially after Anthony Edwards went down. I mean, it's like nobody on the other side of the floor could run an offense. And so kind of living with the, isolation based single coverage against Randle, I thought made some sense, to be honest. And because it just mucked up everything else. And then every now and then, at the end of the first half, Siakam just got him, and just clean pick six, layup when, 20 seconds earlier the Pacers were down 2 and they went into halftime up 2. So yes, they could have done more there, but at the same time, they were super willing to let Jaden McDaniels try to beat them. He couldn't. He didn't. I mean, Jaden wasn't making anything. Gobert had some. I mean, it depended on the matchup. There were some times when Gobert was a bit too much to handle in the post, but fundamentally, the other Wolves players are not. I mean, DiVincenzo is the second most threatening offensive player, and obviously he got going a little bit at times.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because I was thinking this in the middle of the game, specifically with about 2 minutes left. I don't like this rule, but it's still a rule. I was wondering, should they do Hacker Rudy? Because Rudy could not hit his free throws, and I felt like that could have prolonged the game, save some, energy defensively on what you're doing, and maybe they pull Rudy out of the game. Does that impact the Pacers in a positive way or a negative way? Because Tony Bradley was out there. Maybe you don't want Tony Bradley chasing around a guy like Naz Reid, but I don't know. I kind of wondered why they maybe didn't go to that.
That's really interesting to think about. I mean, if I was going to be critical of something down the stretch, they call a timeout with 20 seconds to go, and then Pascal's backing down Julius Randle for a contested 2. Aaron Nesmith gets fouled, taking a 2 off the offensive rebound. I thought that was poor game awareness, poor situational awareness. The Pacers are out of timeouts. They're not going to be able to advance the ball again. You're down 4. You're going to have to foul even if you make a shot. I thought they should have taken a 3 there. So yeah, that's an interesting point. So between the two of us, it seems like there are a couple end of game moments where I think things could have been schemed and planned a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I mean, I don't think we've said enough positive things about Tony Bradley, which is not a sentence I normally was expecting to say 3 games into the season.
Let's spend 5 minutes on him.
We can do 5 minutes. Listen, I looked this up before our show, Alex.
Yeah.
Tony Bradley scored 8 points in the fourth quarter tonight. That is a tied career high for Tony Bradley's fourth quarter scoring. And the only other time he scored 8 was in the 162-109 win against the Wizards last year, when the fourth quarter was 100% garbage time. And if I recall correctly, the bench is yelling at him to take a 3 because no one on the team could miss, and he missed. Yeah. But I thought he played just this is the thing with Tony Bradley. And sometimes we say this negatively, but I think today's game should remind you why it's a positive. That like higher floor, lower ceiling, knows the system. We kind of say these things sometimes in a way that like puts people down, as to suggest that they can't do anything more. They don't have other things to offer. And the truth is that sometimes competent play, lower mistake play, allows everyone else on the floor to succeed. Yeah. And what you get is Tony Bradley runs the seam straight down the middle, and opens up the wings for other people to take 3s. Now, Ben Shepherd missed them all, but okay. You have Tony Bradley running pick and roll with Ray J. Dennis, who he's still a good floor general, hits him for a pass. And I mean, I think it was in semi-transition, he gets the 1-2 layup, and I was like, Tony Bradley, 1-2 with the offhand. I mean, I was loving it. I think he played very well. And it's one of those, you think coming into the season, right? They've got these 2 backup centers, I'm rewinding right to June here. Yeah. They've got Thomas Bryant and Tony Bradley on the roster. And you're thinking to yourself, neither of these guys acquitted themselves so well in the playoffs. What are they going to do? And Miles walks, and you're like, who's it going to be? And then they keep Tony Bradley. And I'm feeling a little bit like, they're just not taking a risk at this position. And right now they need to be taking a risk at this position. And again, I do still think they need to take a swing in some way. But when you get that competent play, it means that because he's filling the center of the floor, the wings are wide open. And Pascal, who's bringing the ball up, has 2 wide open passes he can make. And again, that's sort of like, sometimes it's boring. It's not always flashy. But fundamentally, the guy is making plays that keep the rest of the team out of dire, defensive rotation and in roughly the flow of the offense. And when the team is as injured as it is right now, you have to have that.
Yeah, I tweeted out, I said, Tony Bradley to me is the best center on the Pacers. And it's not because his ceiling is higher than the other ones. It's because you know what you're going to get every single time he's on the court.
And through 3 games, you're right. Through 3 games, I don't I don't think any Pacers fan is really going to argue with that.
I mean, the fact that we saw 4 centers get played in Memphis, I mean, that was obviously going to happen. Like, all 4 of them were going to play at some point. But the fact we had 3 of them out there at one point, but like that 1-2 layup that he had, DiVincenzo was just waiting for the charge. He thought he was going to barrel right into him. I said, this is not going to end well. Please don't get hurt, Tony Bradley. And I mean, he sidesteps him and he hits it perfectly. I was like, the pirouette, I was like, what are we doing? I mean, Tony Bradley is just like, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. This is one of those guys where it's like, I feel like I'm dumb for saying this, but I've been saying it all offseason. I feel like he's going to solidify himself as the backup center for this team. Rick Carlisle just trusts him too much with what he does. The Jay Huff stuff, like he still looks like he just cannot get in shape to play this Pacers style. He continues, I hate to use this pun because his last name is Huff, but he really truly is huffing and puffing about 3 minutes into every time he's on the court. Like, he is just like gas. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. Maybe there's an upper respiratory situation we're not knowing about, but the guy looks tired all the time. And he plays through it. He had some nice moments. I know Quinn Buckner got really excited on a dunk that he had where Gobert just kind of got out of the way. And he did hit 1-3 tonight, 1 of 4 from the 3-point line. But this is where Tony Bradley has kind of solidified himself. Like, Isaiah Jackson was the 4th center in the game against Memphis. And then he ends up coming back to the starting 5. James Wiseman doesn't play at all in this game, which obviously there's a reason why. He is their weakest link at the 5. I'm sorry to any Pacer fan that thinks he is not. He is clearly the weakest link to me. And he's only got $1 million guaranteed. If the Pacers cut Tony Bradley over him, I think that's a massive mistake. And the thing that I didn't probably talk about early enough in the offseason, but as we got closer, and maybe after I saw a game of preseason, the Pacers the last 2 seasons have really overthought their centers that they had on the roster with not wanting to bring them back. I get Jalen Smith, a little bit more expensive, wasn't great in the playoffs, right? Got signed by the Bulls, but like still, the whole entire regular season outplayed Isaiah Jackson. And then Thomas Bryant, I know he's not great. He's a 3rd-string center for the Cavaliers. He wasn't playing in Miami. He comes to the Pacers as their backup center, and they start winning games. Now, it wasn't just because he was on the court, but you finally had a backup big that could back up Miles Turner for 10 to 12 minutes a game and could go out there, block shots, hit 3-point shots, rebound the basketball, just play in their system and play with energy the way they need to play. And honestly, if you had Thomas Bryant and Tony Bradley, I would feel much, much better about the center spot than what we've seen so far. And that is where you talk about it. You said they got to go out there and experiment a little bit more. Honestly, if you know what works and you know what's good enough to just be okay, like don't overthink it, because the people they brought in, nobody really has excited me. I'm still optimistic about Isaiah Jackson eventually being a good enough player that he can impact the game in certain ways. But yeah, I mean, I was never really sold on James Wiseman. I was hoping to believe that Jay Huff could be something, but after preseason and the first couple of games of the season, I'm not out, but I'm not excited.
Yeah, I will remain on team experimentation, but obviously you cannot experiment at every position all the time. And you have to choose what, like the Pacers, like in how they assign minutes and who they play with whom and what responsibilities they task people with and the freedom that they give certain players to try certain things, the sets they run for them, how they involve them in the offense and defense, the responsibilities on that end of the floor that they assign to them. They have to sort of make their bets about which kinds of players they're willing to see fail. And I think all Pacers fans are in agreement. We want to see Jarris Walker given those opportunities. We want to see Ben Mathurin pushed even more. We want to see what Andrew Nembhard is doing at the 1. Johnny Furphy, I want to see every poster on earth that he can do. I really want him to try and dunk on Miles Turner. I think it would be sick. At the same time, like, you can't be like, let Ray J cook. Like, too far for me. We can't be, it can't be like, yeah, there's one possession in this game where he was trying to cook a little bit, and I was like, slow down, Ray J. We had like Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman, like you're mentioning. I mean, I think it's worth saying, at least as a footnote to this conversation, they were out all year last year, which I don't think what we're seeing fundamentally is like an Achilles related explosiveness, athleticism problem. We're seeing the problem that happens when you miss a year of play and don't know how these other guys on the floor are moving together. And then you come back and are doing something totally different as you're also figuring out how your body's going to handle it. It's a lot to ask. And experimenting there is a bit too much. Again, why you and I were a little bit skeptical of the decision to start two centers. So yeah, despite my desire for experimentation, there are boundaries to my craziness, and the center position might be one where I sort of take a somber L, accept the Tony Bradley experience, and then hopefully another way, Johnny Furphy gets turned loose off the bench too.
Yeah, we just got to get these guys healthy. Like the fact that Furphy's not healthy right now, Cam Jones isn't healthy. Like those are two young players that could obviously be using this time for development where you're not spending so much time with Ray J. Dennis on the court. But like, I want to give credit to Ray J because I thought he looked pretty good in that second half. Like he made the right plays. I will never forget in the third quarter when Obi is clapping at him. Give me the ball. Shot clock's winding down, and Obi is like clapping for it. Ray J just doesn't even look at him. I mean, I could hear it through the TV, and Ray J doesn't even look at him and pulls up from three and cashes it. And I'm thinking, okay, this is what it's like to play with Ray J Dennis. He's got kind of like that Mathurin mindset where he's somewhat of a point guard where he'll get the assist, here and there, but he's more of a I want to score first kind of guy, look for his own kind of guy, and that's not a bad thing all the time. They've needed him to hit some big shots, but. Yeah, I was laughing in that moment because I could just tell Toppin was just like, come on, give me the ball. Like, what are you doing? Like, we got to get this offense moving, and it wasn't moving, and they were really struggling in that third quarter. That was actually a big bucket in that third quarter because they were struggling so much to get points. But it was just so funny because it stood out so much. And then, I felt like this was a bad Jarris game. I know that there's been some brighter spots, I guess you could say, from Jarris, but man, like the level of force that he plays with, it's so up and down. It's a roller coaster ride. And I tried to defend him after the OKC game because I had some friends texting me saying that they weren't really impressed. And I was like, I thought he looked pretty good against OKC.
He looked great. I totally I'm with you. Your friends, yeah. I'm sorry to your friends. With a young player, you've got to watch process. Jarris was great. I was in on game one.
I mean, you can't expect a lottery player to just be great immediately. And I don't really count his first year as playing much. It was a very big learning process. So this was basically like year 2 for me. So I'm kind of expecting ups and downs from him. But like with this opportunity and Obi going down, like you kind of need him to be better. And like they try to give Pascal a break and put Jarris in there. And it was just like, nope, this is not going to work. They put him on Julius Randle. No resistance, no fight. It was just like, looked like a little kid guarding a grown man out there. And hate to say it like that, but it's just, I like him. I think he has the potential to fit this roster very well. But the more and more he kind of just plays in this in between a force, I don't really know what I think his future looks like with this team.
If you were watching the Pacers broadcast, I thought Quinn Buckner nailed one of the calls it's a second half play, third quarter, fourth quarter. I can't place it, but he catches the ball sort of. He's below the 3-point line and outside the paint, and Mike Conley is guarding him, and he slowly starts backing him down, and my eyes are getting big, and Quinn is egging him on, like, come on, go to work, and he's backing Mike Conley down, and then he gets to the edge of the paint, and then he takes a spin, turnaround, fadeaway 2, and Quinn Buckner just sort of like, I think Quinn's exact call was something like, if you were playing on the street, you would never let that happen.
Yeah,
and it's hard to, sort of like mind capsule that image in your mind, spin away on 40-year-old Mike Conley, who's sick. He's got 8 inches on him. And then, this isn't about Jarris. This is just a zoomed out comment. I mean, Ben Shepherd is just throwing his body all over the floor in the fourth quarter, which is that's who he has been many times. It's how the OKC second half kind of got turned around as Ben Shepherd just fundamentally making effort plays. This combination of traits, spin, fadeaway 2 on Mike Conley, and the other guy from, who like you're sort of competing with minutes with in a certain sense, being like the guy who will just absolutely give his body for anything. I mean, he just lost a tooth, for goodness sakes. Like,
right.
It's a tough side by side. Jarris has like force is whatever. If Rick is saying Jarris play with force, clearly he needs to be saying like go tackle somebody, because Jarris's definition of force isn't actually forceful enough. And maybe if Jarris is told go hit somebody, he'll actually play with the force that bumps somebody off balance and lets him spin and take those, turn those fadeaway 2s in not just into floaters, but into layups. I mean, like Pascal Siakam, everyone has seen that move from Pascal Siakam. It's right there for Jarris. And he's frankly just not doing it. It's too bad. This is not, this was a bad game. We're giving him time. But those are the kinds of things, Mike Conley on you, that are just kind of inexcusable.
Okay, can I throw this out at you as a comparison and you give me your feedback? Because as you were talking about some of the stuff and the backing down thing, it just reminded me of a player that used to be on the Pacers, and that's Miles Turner. And it does kind of feel like some of the inconsistencies we saw from Miles, specifically on the offensive end early on in his career, could be parallel to what Jarris Walker's going through.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And I just felt like once Rick Carlisle got to Indiana and Miles finally got that point guard to set him up and Sabonis was in the mix, like things started to change for him. And so maybe Jarris, I don't know, like it's part of just development. It's part of like a coach believing in you too. And I know that Rick was a big believer in Miles when he first came here. And actually before he came here, he would say things like in Dallas, like, Miles is one of the best rim protectors in the league and really just had a strong belief in him. And I feel like with Jarris, he's always playing like he has to prove something, but he always also plays attentive, like he's going to mess up and get pulled out. And that's like the fine dynamic of what way do I play more? I'd rather him fail more at doing the hard stuff and making bad mistakes than get pulled for not playing with enough force. But I mean, the parallel between him and early Miles Turner career, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the post play, the images in my mind from early Miles and Jarris, I do see the comparison there for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, listening to you sort of tease that all out, it makes me think that we should have even more patience with Jarris, because the truth is that Miles never really became a great post big man. He could sort of shoot over some of his mismatches by like the last 2 years, really. But like his 3-point shot, I mean, people thought of him as a stretch big, but it's only really been in the last 2 years that he's really knocked down threes at the clip that you would want from a stretch big. And yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, the truth is that some people are just much more comfortable with contact than others. And some people have just much better body control and understanding of their strength and the strength of the opponent they're playing against better than others do. The obvious examples on the Pacers that come to mind, Siakam is just sort of on another level with this sort of physique and understanding of his own physique. Nembhard and Mathurin are both pretty good at this too. But I think you're onto something there with some of the tentativeness with your own physique. Mm-hmm. It remind me a little bit of Miles Turner.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, like Obi's not somebody that's posting up guys a lot, but we did see it some against OKC when you get that mismatch on Shea. He'd be trying to front, get down there and get the ball and things like that. I'm not saying that you're wanting Jarris to go post up all the time, but when there's opportunities there to strike, do it, right?
And this is making, what is it that Miles Turner got better at? I don't think of it as being that he got better at backing people down. With Siakam, Siakam is pretty good backing people down, but one of the things that they both did well is getting the deeper initial position. Really fighting for Siakam is so good at this, fighting for like the early seal or the deep catch. Miles, with him, it's the deeper catch. And then maybe even because he knew that the like spin, pivot, like the Sabonis style post moves weren't his game, Miles did get very good at quick, just very quick. He'd catch and just immediately turn around, go up. And because he was so tall and had such a high release point, that was a very good shot for him. Mm-hmm. And whether Jarris goes for like the quicker move, because like the more methodical approach just isn't his style, whether it's the deeper initial positioning, there are other ways to get 2 feet in the paint as a forward or big that he could take advantage of much better. I mean, he had a deep seal. I think it was in the OKC game that he had a deeper seal, or maybe I'm thinking of a preseason play, but it's not entirely. The point is, it's not entirely out of his like sort of field of vision.
Yeah,
but I agree that he plays scared. I mean, it's this weird thing where on the sometimes like Ben Shepherd is like a low mistakes kind of air quotes plays scared. But he plays so hard in other ways that it doesn't matter. Whereas Jarris, belief is so important. I think anybody who listening to this it doesn't have to even be in a sports context. In a professional context too, when you have people around you who believe in you, you take more risks and perform better. It makes a big difference in so many walks of life. And I think in many other instances, Rick has been very good at showing belief in people. And I mean, Tyrese being, more recently, like exhibit a sort of platinum example of this. He turned the keys over to him right away. And, the team came closer to the finals than to a championship than they'd ever been.
Right. And I mean, the thing is, like, you just go back to game 1 against OKC when Jarius tried to make that entry pass into the post from like dang near, like right inside
the one that he threw like into the second row.
Yeah, it was a terrible pass. And like, we were like, what are you doing? And then the very next play, Mathurin comes in for him. And he like didn't think he was actually going to come out. And then he does. And he hangs his head. And it's just like last year when I asked him, like, what did you learn from the playoff run? And what did you learn from making it to the finals? Obviously he didn't play in the finals, but like, what did you learn from that? He was like, yeah, you don't have time to pout. And I'm like, okay, that was a very interesting thing for a young player to say, like, you don't have time to pout when things aren't going your way. And it's more about, just doing what I can to help the team. And it's like that mindset right there. Like when you openly say that, like, I thought maybe he just was being a little bit too honest with me when he said it. But I also appreciated the honesty because I think he was just like, yeah, I was upset with my playing time. I was upset with my role. And Carlisle's been very defensive about the role that Jarius got last year and the minutes that he played. And every time he talks about Jarius's development and getting more minutes, he's like, well, he played 1,000 minutes plus last year, So Rick will always say that. But I don't know. I'm still a believer in Jarius, but I'm not having doubts. I shouldn't say that, but I do question when he can take that next jump, if he'll ever take it, I guess, is not a matter of when, but if he takes it. I don't know if he will. And that's my biggest
I think
concern.
multiple things can be true. Like fundamentally, the behavior that you just described, like the pouting and stuff, fundamentally is an immature reaction to that situation.
He's young.
And he's 20, and I was going to say, and he's 22 years old.
Yeah.
And so there's like this, the thing that's unusual is when you're a 22-year-old with like intense media scrutiny and celebrity adjacent pressure and expectations, and you handle it with grace and calm and poise. That's unusual. I think most people listening to this in such a situation would find it very hard to maintain the level of composure that other NBA stars have shown in that situation. It's just hard. And I think I appreciate his honesty in that answer. It's self-aware. And at the same time, in this profession that he's in, he's got like 1 or 2 more years to show it.
Yeah. Well, time is ticking.
It is ticking. It is ticking. I mean, I like you. I think of this as more like we're getting, like, I just don't think of year 1 as being his rookie year. I think of games played as opposed to sort of whatever the number says on Basketball Reference for the season that you're in.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the right word is, right? It's not quite doubts. I'm a little bit skeptical. I'm not giving up. Maybe my view of his ceiling is a little bit lower than it used to be, right? It's this kind of like mix of things where I'm like, a few years ago, I was a little bit more excited than I am now, but that doesn't mean he can't still be a good player.
I just have questions and I haven't got answers yet. I feel like my answers are still incomplete with him.
That's the right way to say it. Yeah.
Because he's got a high ceiling. And when he does the good things he does well, like it's like shooting the ball at a high clip or making that extra pass that, like, even than what he did against OKC, there was a great pass that he had over to Taylor Peter for that 3.
Beautiful
That was
play.
just a beautiful skip pass. I mean, and like nobody really else besides Tyrese on this roster, I think, can make that pass. Maybe Nembhard, but I don't know. It was just a beautiful pass. And I mean, it was like effortless. Like it didn't even look like he took any like energy to like make it. It was just like natural. Like, let me just throw this over here to the corner. He's 2 passes away. Bada bing, bada boom. Like, okay, that is what is special about Jarius. So I just want to give it more time before I give my conclusion. And then the last thing I want to say about his draft class, Ben Shepherd, I don't know what the right classmate there is.
Compatriot, peer.
Yeah, peer. That's a good word. Is he not the king of the untimely foul? Because I feel like every time
he had an untimely foul in this game. Whew, man.
He had a couple, like the one against DiVincenzo in the corner was just like so unnecessary. And then he fouls Rudy Gobert and slaps him in the head as he's like dunking the basketball. And I'm just like, just whack his arms. Don't go for the ball. Just whack his arms. Make him shoot the free throws. Like, I feel like, and I mentioned this after the first game, like he gets caught off balance, or like somebody will beat him off the dribble and then he'll try to get back in to defend it, but he's always a step behind, and like he'll kind of just get his body in the wrong position and then get called for a foul. And I've noticed it more so this season, just paying attention to like the more time he's been on the court. But it's like the little things, instead of just like fouling somebody driving to the basket to keep them from getting 2 easy baskets once you've already got them blown by it, you end up kind of pulling your hands back, trying not to get the foul. You still commit the foul, and they get an and one. And I just think these untimely fouls for him, they just keep piling up in my head, and I'm just like, Shep, what are you doing, man? I need some more consistency with your fouling.
The truth is that the untimely fouls would feel a little bit better if he didn't go over 5 from 3.
Oh my God, this guy cannot hit threes. It's the most frustrating thing.
Painful. There was one like late in the fourth. I don't remember how late but it's under 5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Wide open corner 3. The one that goes off the backboard. It goes in eventually, but only after
yes.
the shot clock first.
Because the Pacers needed that 3. They needed that 3 to cut the lead, I think, to like
desperately
5 or 2. I think it was a 5.
I think it was from 5 to 2 or from 4 to 1.
Yes. Yeah, it would have been a huge play, and the bench was up.
The bench was so ready. I mean, you've got like the people getting ready to celebrate. Didn't happen.
Yeah. The untimely foul and the untimely missed shot from Ben Shepherd. It is a combination that is continuing to grow, but you can't deny
continuing to grow. But again, I gotta say, the guy is making other plays that keep the team in the game.
The drives have been really nice. He's been cutting harder. I've been more impressed with Shep than I have not been, but just like it always feels like the spotlight's on him when he makes those fouls. It's like, that's the worst time to miss that.
Yeah, the foul. The truth is, right? You're talking about a 3-and-D player. Like, you can't make the 3-and-D make the 3. Do not like commit the untimely foul. Yeah, it's kind of in the role, unfortunately for him.
It is. So Kyle, this has been a lot of fun. I know we probably didn't get too specifically into like what happened exactly in this game, but talked a lot about some of the players. Maybe didn't give enough flowers to Pascal Siakam for how incredible he was, but I think at this point, Pacer Nation just has to kind of accept like, this is what you're going to get from Pascal on a night-to-night basis for the most part. Maybe not near triple-double, but you're going to get a great effort from him almost every single night, and it's very consistent. So any final words before we sign off?
You're right. We did not give enough flowers to Pascal Siakam. I mean, there's a play I think it's in the fourth quarter. He's already gassed, basically. You can see him, like, when he's on the ground, he's exhausted. And there's a play where he's getting hounded on the right wing near the Pacers bench. 2 guys go to him, and he's like falling backwards. And I think he dumps it off, I think, to Ray J, who's the nearest guy to him. And he immediately jumps back on his feet, sprints back into the play for a give and go, which turns into like a reverse layup as he like steps through the baseline. If that doesn't summarize the like level of effort that he was putting into this game, I don't know what does. He was so good. He was good all over the court. He hit a 3 to give him a chance to win in the final minute. I mean, he's playing, this is like all NBA level play from him to start the season, period.
Yeah.
And that is, it's last year when Tyrese Halliburton didn't play, I ran the stats on this at the time, and Pascal complimented Tyrese when he was on the floor, but he didn't sort of fill in completely when he didn't compensate for him when Tyrese was off the floor. And this has been just a totally different level of performance and output from him that is just, it's awesome to watch. I love that he's doing it at all 3 levels. I'm a sucker for the mid-range scoring. We can't, you're right. We did not give him enough flowers. It's sad that it's happening this late in the podcast, but Pascal Siakam, all-star level play to start the year. He's so good.
He is so good. We're saving the best for last. That's what we do here on Setting the Pace. And so we know that you guys are going to listen all the way to the very end when we talk about Pascal Siakam. So with that being said, Pacer Nation, thank you all so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your audio podcast. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Kyle will be recapping the Mavericks game on Wednesday with Derek Kramer over on Pacers Recap on Derek's iPacers YouTube page. Make sure you check that out. And Pacer Nation, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode talking all things Pacers right here on Setting the Pace. We'll talk to you then.